Welcome, everybody, to this week's OneDoor Studios update. Yes, it has been a long time since we gave an update. So a couple of reasons for that. We wanted to do an update on the script with Nova, who is doing the polish on the script. Of course, Nova being the writer of the novels. But last week wasn't a good time, and this week they're still working hard on the script. So they said, please, let's do that interview next week. So that's a little tease that next week's video update is going to be an interview with Nova, the author of Calculated, and the current polished screenwriter on the script. Good news is we're getting very close to being finished, but a lot of investors have messaged us in the past few weeks saying, hey, what's next? What's going on? So that's why we wanted to do this update today to kind of give you an update on what is happening, what are the next steps as far as Calculated development is concerned. So,
Hey, Stephen,
yes.
before we dive into the next steps, I wondered if I could just say something to our investors. I was actually just looking over some of our past investments and offerings, I should say, and thinking back to the people who've invested back in 2021 and how positive they've been, how supportive, how they've really journeyed with us this whole way. Um, if you had asked me how it would have been when we started, I'm not so sure I would have expected people to be so encouraging and supportive and kind of on our team, you know? I was just talking to another guy this morning about how I would recommend this experience for anyone. It's just been fantastic. Our investors have been so encouraging, and it makes it all the better. As now that we're getting close to the finish line, it makes it really rewarding to share that with all of you.
And that point is not far off. So we had gone to Toronto Film Festival a couple months back and gotten some interest from some producers. And they had asked for the script, and we actually didn't send it to anybody because it wasn't the finished version. There were some things we really wanted to nail down. We didn't want to give a watered down version of the script to these producers and let them think less of the project. So we really Paul Lauer, our new CEO for OneDoor Studios, and Nova have been having many multi-hour sessions on this script to really polish it and take the elements that are strong and make them even stronger, and the elements that are weak, make them strong. And so we're very close to the end of that. And next week, we're going to hear more from them. But for this week, we also wanted to talk about kind of like the market, the pulse of the market, and next steps. So I'm going to turn it over to John. John's looking surprised.
What?
So a couple of film festival things. We've got Ken and what was the other one, John? Just talk a little about those film festival opportunities.
Yeah, the next festival coming up is this month on the beginning of the 14th. It's the Berlinale, not surprisingly in Berlin. So if you want to go, you can go on your internet and look under Berlinale and get the information. And they're great hotels. A little cold this year to go over there, but you won't see us. You may go, but we're not planning on it. The only reason is because our script will likely not be there. And we'd like a little bit of time once the script is ready to present to studios. We'd like a moment to meet with them first before we are meeting with the major international distributors. And that would be the main reason for us to go to the Berlinale. So the next film festival up is the Cannes Film Festival. And that is opens the 15th, and I think it goes through the 24th of May. So the likelihood that we'll be there is high, as Jason would suggest. It's always best not to say we're going for sure, but we're certainly anticipating it. We think we will, and so we're prepping everything around that event. Now, what we hope is that by that time we'll have a script in hand, we'll have made presentations to studios, and in the best case scenario, we'll already have a studio relationship. If not, we'll certainly have feedback by that time and hopefully be close to a studio relationship and may even wind it up while we're there. Um, Typically, we'll go a little early and take those meetings before the rush. And as you may recall, for those meetings, we need, in addition to the script, our short list of actors, our short list of directors that we have. And they're short because they're just the top folks that we have in mind. We'll have looked at their schedules already, know that they're clear and available. We may have taken a meeting or two with directors before then, or maybe not, but there'll be no commitments so that we're not, so that we're giving a free open arena for the studios and they'll be able to participate in that decision and engage their relationship with us, knowing that they have a director that they're comfortable with and actors that they're comfortable with. So that's kind of where we are on the markets and also what we're doing prep wise. Unless you wanted me to talk about other things that we're pushing forward on the ancillary side of the table.
Yeah, you can mention the ancillary side because with every film project there is stuff like video games and merchandise and stuff like that. So what are we doing on that front, or what are our plans on that front, John?
Yeah, the video game side is huge. Just a big article this morning in the trades of a video game that broke all records. They've gotten to $5 billion in total revenue in the
Wow.
shortest period of time. I think it was just under 2 years.
What game was that?
The game is called Genshin Impact.
Yeah, you mentioned
Right.
China in there, and I might
It's
be an interesting piece of information though that we kind of acquired the other day, just because as far as the global market is concerned for film movie goers, the largest market, well, larger in number in the United States is China, not necessarily larger in box office money because U.S. charges more per ticket, but the Chinese market was one of those markets we were going to go to, but it's always the relationship between U.S. and China is a little bit, iffy.
Tentative.
Yeah. And so, well, U.S. movies used to always dominate the Chinese box office, and Chinese movies are always, like fourth or fifth down the line. And China wanted to do something about that. So it's kind of made the relationship with Hollywood and U.S. movies a little bit tense. So what's going on there?
It's only been 2 years where the United States has not been the most prominent in China, and it was right before that we went and made two presentations, one in Beijing and one in Shanghai.
It was Qingdao as well.
Yeah, China as well, but especially in Beijing, we had just the heads of entertainment, motion pictures and television both. Anyway, and we were not shy about saying, and we always dominate in your market. And if it was us, this was happening in our market, and Chinese films were dominating us, it would drive us crazy. But we wouldn't stand for that. So changes need to be made. And of course, we were there and they wanted us to coach them on what changes should be made. And we were not shy about that either, what they should do. So the two big things were them.
So it is your fault, John.
It's John's fault, not Jay's fault.
No. Jason set it all up.
In a nutshell, China has upped their game to put their own pictures at #1 spots. So, for example, Barbie in the United States did like 600 and something million in box office, but in China only did about 30 million. And then Jay, you mentioned Oppenheimer earlier.
Mm-hmm.
You said they only did about 7 million in box office in China. Yeah, so the amount of money being spent on American films in China is greatly decreasing. Not exactly sure why, whether it's they're not being put in more theaters or they're just not, Chinese aren't interested. I don't know.
Yeah, well, their films have become better and more satisfying, and they've been pushing them more. And the party does have a big influence on what people see and how they spend their money. but they have been quashing the US films as well, pulling back, doing what they can market-wise to influence the Chinese films doing better, and the American films especially not dominating, and they've succeeded.
So one big picture takeaway for us is, Calculated, the first novel, it's set in Shanghai, it's a Chinese movie. The author Nova lived there for 14 years.
Yeah.
And she wrote the book in a way that really honors Chinese culture, language, everything. And so we're planning to make such an amazing movie that China just can't help but bring it over. That's the plan.
If films do well outside of China, then they're more, they have a higher tendency to bring them in.
Yeah. And the whole reason we're talking about China simply is the second biggest market, on the planet.
That's huge.
So, it definitely affects you as an investor, whether the film is in China or not in China. And that's why we're talking about this. So
We want to play in China, and fortunately, we have people that with experience in China and can help guide the picture that way. So we wouldn't change the picture itself for the big market, but we would potentially do cover shots if we knew that the distributors in China, like China Film Group, for instance, were sensitive to certain things. We might have footage that we shoot during production that we edit in for the Chinese version, just like Pearl Harbor editing and producing special content for their movie in Japan for that release, because that's a really, really important market as well, earnings wise.
that's great, John. There's one more thing I wanted to mention. I was reminded of it when I saw this interview with Elon Musk, and I think a lot of our viewers probably seen this, where a reporter was asking him about Elon Musk was explaining the thrust of their main rocket, and a reporter said, "Is that also for the boosters?" And Elon Musk got this look in his face, and he's like, "Oh, well, wait a second. Actually, no, but arguably that'd be better." And so this idea that the reporter gave actually caused them, SpaceX, to change the way they do their rocket boosters. And so we're bringing that to you guys because do you guys have ideas or connections for some of these ancillary products, such as video games, music, what else, John?
Merchandise.
Merchandise. Any connections? If you're chomping at the bit to become involved in this process, we would love to hear from you. So you can be like that reporter for Elon Musk who changed the way we do things. So if you have anything you want to mention, you can email Thomas at OneDoor Studios or Jay at OneDoorStudios.com. And they would love to hear from you.
Or even needle drops, which are just little tunes. If you've read the novel a time or two or three and you've found yourself humming a tune, it's go really good.
If you play the banjo and the jug, and the spoons and want to create
Or if you're Lauren Daigle,
yeah.
feel free to give us a call.
Yeah.
Very good.
All right, so next week, little tease for next week, we will be interviewing Nova at this point, and we want to call the final stages of the script development. We hope the truth will be told when we read it and go, "This is amazing. This has got to go out now." So that'll be next week's interview. So be sure to join us for that when that video goes out. Anybody else have anything to say before we sign off, guys?
No, but we're already saying it's amazing.
Yeah. Oh,
It's already so strong and over the top.
It was, if you guys weren't with us a few weeks back, we as a team, we had a script read through, and we were in tears in a good way. It was just so powerful, but there was a few elements like, well, audiences are very sophisticated these days, and they're not so forgiving about stuff that isn't well established. So we wanted to make sure that every single element in the script was just bulletproof, per se. So that's what we'll be talking about next week. So join us for that, and we will be happy to see you then, everybody. Until then, hasta.